All right, so this Knife Thoughts video is going to be on the Great Eastern Cutlery Rendezvous here in 2022, but these are the knives that I'm going to show off mostly because they are the Great Eastern Cutlery knives that I got at the Rendezvous this year. So if you're not familiar with the Rendezvous, what it is it's a gathering at the Great Eastern Cutlery factory in Titusville, PA, where Great Eastern Cutlery knives are made. And it's something that they've held for a long time now. This was the 16th year. And it's the, I've been going since 2014. So this was the 9th year of me going. Now, last year, or 2 years ago in 2020, they didn't have an official rendezvous because of COVID. So some people put together a, just a kind of a replacement gathering that was very unofficial. But I kind of include that because you got to see a lot of the same people. But it's a gathering of people who are traditional knife enthusiasts and Great Eastern Cutlery enthusiasts at the Great Eastern Cutlery factory. They do special knives. There's a special knife each year that's limited to a certain number. They sell a certain number each day. And it's something that I have been collecting since, I started going in 2014. Then they also do special factory assembly knives, which are what used to be called parts knives. They're knives that are put together with parts from previous runs, different handle materials than the normal runs, or sometimes even different, different years blades put into, different handles and things like that. But they're always relatively low numbers. Some of them very low, like 4, of a certain knife up to, there was 183 that had like 80 or 50 or something this year. So pretty low runs, and they're always kind of interesting because they're different than the normal runs. And then they also have just general run knives, and they seem to have been bringing out old knives kind of out of some vault or something, and some of them are store knives. So this is a store knife, and I'll talk about that more when I get this knife out. But you can buy knives, and there's a lot of cool knives, but the real, kind of value to me is getting to see all these other people who love this type of knife, as well as the people at GEC. So getting to see, there's too many people for me to name. I actually did this video once already in a little bit of a different format, and there's so many people to name. Collectors that I've known for a long time from being at the rendezvous, collectors that I know, or enthusiasts that I know from Facebook, from being in the GECC Facebook group, and all kinds of people that are just really a delight to get to talk to and catch up with. And particularly for me, because a lot of them have a lot more knowledge on the knives than I do, especially on vintage knives. So I always really enjoy getting to learn about that sort of thing. And then also you get to meet and talk with, knife dealers. So, people like Jay from Knives Ship Free, and I got to meet Tyler this year, and Austin from Traditional Pocket Knives, Joel from Boss Steel Blades. Always fun to talk with all of them, as well as Ken Mundank is usually there. One of the people I've bought GECs from for the longest, but he wasn't there this year. And then Jamie Rank was also there this year. I didn't really get to talk to him too much, but lots of people like that are always interesting to talk to get their perspectives on things. And then also one person I wanted to give a shout out to, I'll talk about that when I talk about this knife. So it's just a really good time. I highly suggest it. If it's, a reasonable trip for you, I definitely suggest taking the time to do it. Now, I know I'm privileged in that it's a really easy trip for me. It's like an hour and 15-minute drive, or an hour and 10 minutes. And it's not for most people. Titusville is a little bit out of the way, but I definitely suggest checking it out. And I'll probably intersperse some pictures here that I took in with the video when I'm not showing the knives. So hopefully you can check those out. But let's look at the knives here. I'm going to actually start with this one just because, kind of go in order of interest or size, I guess. So this is a 2018 number 14 with a clip point, single blade clip point. You can see this is the Lick Creek boy's knife. It's a 14 that was made in 2018, and that's, it's not really a parts knife. It's not a special factory assembly. It's just a knife that they kind of dug out here. And I wanted to mention, I bought this thing to try to make it look a little bit more official with my logo in the background. I guess the matte finish was not a good call because it's taking scuffs like nobody's business. Can't seem to get the scuffs off either. So sorry about that. I'm still working on my filming setup here where I'm living now. But anyway, hopefully you can see it all right here. This is in Gabon or Gabon or however you say it, ebony. You know that I'm not great at pronouncing the wood names. But this is a store knife, and what that means is that it's basically a second. So they have in the past made seconds that were actual seconds that had some, you know, defect. And it seems kind of difficult to get an official perfect answer on what constitutes a store knife. But my understanding is that they have some kind of, you know, non-functional defect. So it's not going to make the knife not functional. It's not going to affect the functionality, but, you know, just some kind of aesthetic defect. For this knife, I would guess that it's this gap right here. So there's a little gap between the spring and the bolster. That's really the only thing that I can see on this that would constitute, you know, an aesthetic flaw. Now, I did drop this knife, unfortunately, before I even left Titusville. So there's a little scuff right here. But just a cool little knife. I got it because by the time I was able to go through the store a second time, I just didn't see any SFAs that I really were calling out to me. And I just thought this looked really classic. And honestly, it was pretty inexpensive too for GECs. So pretty cool little knife. I was planning on using it and haven't really used it yet or anything. I've carried it a little bit. That's, you know, why I dropped it. But, you know, just haven't gotten around to using it basically. But speaking of, you know, the second time through the store, what they do is people actually wait overnight to get these Rendezvous specials, particularly on Thursday into Friday. I've never waited Friday into Saturday. The Rendezvous used to be 3 days. One little kind of interesting thing with this knife is that it has a write-up inside. And I don't know if I didn't get one of these when they originally came out, but I didn't recall the write-up. So I hope I won't get in trouble with Lyle Fry here for showing this. But anyway, so people line up the day before to get the Rendezvous specials. I've done it for a couple years. I didn't do it the first few years, but I've done it a few years, and I've never done it Friday into Saturday. The Rendezvous used to be Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then starting in 2021, I believe, it was just Friday, Saturday. So people actually got there at about 9 p.m. on Wednesday this year, 2 people, and then people rolled in kind of all day Friday, or I'm sorry, all day Thursday. I got there at 12:30 p.m. in the afternoon on Thursday, and I was 18th in line. So it's gotten pretty extreme, and even though I have never stayed Friday into Saturday, I think that that's probably what I'm going to do this coming year. And the reason for that is because, like I say, really the value, I mean, I definitely want to keep collecting these knives and all of that, but the real value to me is getting to talk to people, you know, get to know people, and basically just talk to people. And there's a lot of people that come through on Friday, and I typically set up a little display with all of my Rendezvous specials and my Allegheny Mountain Knife Collectors Association knives, and just some of the ones that I like to display. And I'm happy to talk to people and, you know, learn from people and answer any questions and all that. And I think it would be better to be fresh, not have stayed up all night the night before, but rather be fresh on Friday so that I can be personable. And I'm relatively introverted by nature, so when I'm tired from not really sleeping, that doesn't help that. But I think it would be better to be fresh on Friday and then stay overnight into Saturday. It seems like it's a little easier to get them on Saturday. I might not have to, you know, be in line at 12:30 p.m. on Friday. So that's what I'm planning. I don't know what it'll be like next year. I certainly hope that I don't miss one of these. But Anyway, speaking of SFAs, this is the SFA that I came away with. Now, it's not the SFA that I actually bought from the factory. Going into the rendezvous, actually all year since I knew that my wife and I were going to be having a baby in September, I knew that I wanted to get a birth knife, a birth gift knife. Now, I think that a lot of people probably, have no idea what that means or have never heard of it or think that it's weird, even within people who like knives. But the reason for that is because my dad got my older brother's birth knives, and I think there's a cool idea. I think that's a nice thing to commemorate and for them to have when they're older. So I wanted to get one. The idea that I had after a while was to get one at the rendezvous because a lot of these special factory assemblies have the year etched on the blade. So I thought that would be a cool thing. And I heard that they had these number 14 TC Barlows, good as gold is what they mark them as, in soup bone. And soup bone's really cool. It's kind of special. And there were 19 of them. So I thought, I shouldn't have any problem. If there's 17 people in front of me, there should be at least 2 of them left. If every single person got this knife, there should be some of them left. Now, I don't know if they do it differently where they, hold back a certain number for the second day. But by the time I was getting up there, someone had bought the last one. And thankfully, Ben Belkin of Jack Wolf Knives had bought one, and he got the last one that they were selling that day, as far as I understand it. And he was kind enough to offer to trade his 14 that he got for an 83 in Hummingbird acrylic. They had SFAs of the number 83 Tascosa, I think is what it's called, in Hummingbird acrylic, and it was pretty cool. Not really something that I would have bought for myself. I don't prefer the Hummingbird acrylic, but a lot of people really liked it. It was actually lower numbers. I think there were like 4 or 8 or something of them. But anyway, he was kind enough to do that, and that's a perfect example of the real value of the rendezvous, is that there are people who, care about the knives and enjoy people who enjoy the knives, and I certainly was extremely thrilled to be able to get this knife. So I really, really appreciate that Ben did that. This is an incredible knife. I mean, it has really cool, almost like smooth white bone, but with some character there on the front, and then a little bit more of that soup bone texture on the back. Just really, really cool looking, and a perfect seaming knife too. Well centered, no proud tip, nice action, and then we've got, if I can show it off effectively here, this is the good as gold etch on the front, and then that 2022 etch that I was looking for, special assembly, on the back. So I really appreciate that Ben was willing to do that. Super nice, and really made my trip. So I set this one aside. I got it out here for the video, but set this one aside, and this is a special one for me. And also, I asked Bill Howard, the owner and founder of GEC, if he would sign it. And he's a, kind of a, I guess, not a big publicity person, but he was willing to do that. So we got that, which is really cool. And then we've got William Howard, which is his son, and is the operations manager. And then Randy Bell, who is the designer for GEC. So I just think it's really cool. It really meant a lot to me that Ben did that, and I'm really happy to have gotten that one. And that's actually the only special factory assembly that I got. In the past, I've gone through several times and, gotten others and stuff, but there weren't a whole lot of them that really spoke to me this year. So I just didn't get any. And like I say, it's not only about the knives for me, so I didn't mind that at all. But here is the Rendezvous Special. So this is the Diamond King 88. So you can see it's 888222, which is kind of cool. Diamond King acrylic. I got number 20. The reason for that is because I have a couple other of the Rendezvous Specials that are serialized number 20. And speaking of serialized, here is the certificate of authenticity that's on the tube itself. can see that they made them a few days before, about 10 days before the rendezvous. Limited to 55 knives, so they, I believe, sold 30 on the first day and then 25 on the second day. Red and black acrylic handle, Turkish clip and lamb's foot blades, and a diamond shield, and there's Joan May Howard's signature. So let's take a look at this one. So I took this one out of my display here. Another thing that I didn't take the pins out, so there were pins associated with the rendezvous, but I didn't take them out. But another thing that they were giving away are these really cool little blade blanks. And I don't actually know what pattern this is because they marked it GEC 2022, which is not, you know, the pattern, but really cool. And I actually always wanted one of these. When you take the tour of GEC, they haven't been doing guided tours, which was one of the big things that I thought was a good draw for major enthusiasts like me for the rendezvous, was that they did these tours, and anybody who appreciates history and manufacturing, you know, could appreciate the guided tour. And they used to do them. They haven't done the guided tours for a couple years, I think maybe because of COVID, but you can still walk around and check out the process. But anyway, when they used to do them, they would use these blanks to kind of illustrate the process. And I always thought that they were super cool. So I was actually really excited to get one of these. I should have asked for another one just so I could display one and have one out. But anyway, pretty cool. And here is the knife. So it has these really cool, and of course my lighting is not showing it off as much as I would like, but these really cool red and black handles, and they call it Diamond King on this. I'm pretty sure that they've called this Red River acrylic before, but Gary Kiefer, who is very, very, very knowledgeable on the, you know, on GEC knives and handle materials and such, said that it was called red brick acrylic. So it could be both. They, you know, often do that. But it's very, very cool looking. It looks better than it does in the video right now, to be completely honest. But the shield is fitted really well. You can see it's really, really closely fitted. No gaps at all. Just a beautiful looking knife. And then it has this really swoopy Turkish clip point and Diamond King 88 on the edge there. You can see that I've got a lot of oil on it because it was put away for display before I made the video. But anyway, here's the PPP etch, and I don't know for sure about this, but some people have said that this is the first rendezvous special that's a PPP, so a pattern that hadn't been produced previously. So that's interesting. It is the first of the rendezvous knives that I have that is a pattern production premiere, which is what that PPP means. And then here is the lamb's foot blade, and you can see that it says Annual GEC Rendezvous 2022, and has a pretty nice etch there. So very cool knife, very nice knife. You can see both blades are well centered. The lamb foot blade is not proud, which I had on my normal run 88s. So I was happy to see that, and just a very cool knife. Now, I don't plan to use or carry this knife, so I just appreciate the look of it. It's a very beautiful knife, and I'm really happy to have it. So this is the Rendezvous Special, the one that I waited outside for, 19 hours, something like that, maybe a little under 18 hours. And like I say, really, the Rendezvous is about getting to see other people who love these knives and who love traditional knives, and getting to share enthusiasm for them and the knowledge. So I really enjoyed it this year. It was really great. You know, there's always going to be one or two people that abuse it, and you know, for example, the past 2 years they've used a ticket system where before the doors open to the store, they give out tickets to each person in the order that they're in line, and then that's the order you go in. And what that allows is it allows you to walk around and see things while you're waiting for the chance to go into the factory. And that's really great because it makes it more of like that show and tell feel where people interact and show their collections and trade and sell and all of that. So I think that was a really, really great change to have that ticket system. It really helped take tensions down with the line also. But there's always going to be somebody that kind of flouts the rules. There was someone this year that seemed to have been doing that, but it's one of those things where there's always so much more positivity than negativity, and focus on the profitability of the knives. There's more people focused on loving the knives and collecting the knives and just enjoying them than on, you know, any kind of like profiteering. Now, like I say, I really love going and getting the Rendezvous special. I have you know, a display which I'll put pictures of in here, and I really like that. I like the SFAs and the kind of older knives and all that. But it just really is to me about getting to see people, talk to people, all of that. I did want to show this real quick, one other knife that I got that I really like at the Rendezvous, and a good example of the fact that you can get some cool vintage knives there. This is a Queen Big Chief, and this is a knife that I've wanted for a long time. Haven't found one in good shape for a good price, and got this one for what I thought was a good price, so I was really happy about that also. There's lots of these vintage knives at the Rendezvous. So I highly suggest, like I said, going if you can swing it. And this is my experience this year. Again, thanks to Ben Belkin. Really appreciate that. I loved getting to see everyone. Like I say, I wish I could name everyone who I got to see again or meet for the first time this year. Believe me, if I talked with you, I enjoyed talking with you. So if you've enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. You can leave any comments in the comments. Also, make sure you subscribe and click the bell and select all so you know when I post new videos. Check out my social media. I'm on Instagram and Facebook at Knife Thoughts, and my website, knifethoughts.com, where I write articles on knives like this and knife-related topics. And last but not least, as always, don't forget to go out and do good.